when you go into an urgent care, you don't know what they're going to charge you.
No.
There's no set figure amount, everything else. At the end, they give you a bill.
Yeah.
Now, you can try arguing the bill if you want to. Most of the time, your insurance company will not cover it because it's urgent care and it's outside of your insurance policy.
That's correct.
Welcome back to Under Oath.
I went to urgent care while 8 weeks pregnant and experiencing shortness of breath. Now, the provider told me they couldn't treat me and recommended I go to the hospital. No examination or treatment was performed. Weeks later, I received a $300 bill stating a full assessment was done, which is false. The clinic manager won't address it and insurance won't intervene. What do I do?
All right. First, I'm going to touch on something that you don't pay attention to first. Urgent care is very important.
Okay.
Because it's almost impossible to get into a hospital sometimes.
Yes.
The emergency rooms, I cut my finger.
Okay.
On one of those mandolins. Ooh. People, is mandolin a generic term now?
I think so.
So I'm not offending any other company?
I don't think you are.
Okay, don't use these things.
Wait a minute.
Don't use these
Why?
things. They're dangerous. Everyone I know has cut themselves. Now, they have the good ones where they top load them and you push down.
Yes.
These mandolins are tough. You can get, and they tell you, and you use that scraper and everything else. And I cut off a huge part of my finger.
Ooh.
And it sucked.
Yeah, it does.
And I went to the emergency room because the urgent care wasn't open because it was late at night. 6 hours in the emergency room, just sitting there holding my finger.
That tracks.
So don't do that. And also don't do that because emergency rooms are expensive.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Try to stay away from those. $3,000.
Woo.
$3,000. And you know what they did? Wrap my finger.
You could have did that at home.
They wrapped my finger.
You know what? Next time you cut yourself, call me. $300.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, there are a couple issues involved in this case. They went there. They charged you $300.
Yeah.
They wrote down full assessment, but they gave you an assessment.
That's the assessment? That's the full assessment.
The assessment, go to an expert.
So they basically said, take your ass down the street. And that's my assessment.
You and I have joked around on this before about the status of healthcare in our country.
We have.
And how bad it is.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people go, Jeff, you should appreciate it. I appreciate it, but the only problem is our medical system has changed in like the last 10 to 20 years, where you have to go to multiple doctors to get help.
Yes.
And then you have to get evaluated by one because your insurance says you can't go see the foot doctor until you see your
primary care physician.
Your primary. You're like, hey, my foot hurts. Maybe my primary can help. The primary says what did they say to you?
Go to see a specialist.
Go to see a specialist.
That's
every
correct.
time.
Every time.
Because you know what they're hoping for? What happened in this case?
Somebody else.
Woman didn't do anything.
Yeah. Somebody else.
She went one place and it said, go somewhere else.
That's right.
And she gave up. I mean, could you imagine that?
We live it.
She gave up.
Yes.
And that's an expectation now. Now, there are people in the medical field or the insurance companies who are going to say to me, Jeff, that is BS. Hey.
No, it's not.
I have seen it too many times.
Yes.
You know,
absolutely.
You know when I believe in UFO? When I see it.
There it is.
Okay. You can tell me what you want to tell me. You can give me your opinion.
Yes.
But if I see it happen, I'm going, well, this happens. And they're going, well, that's an exception. Well, how many times do you have to see an exception before it becomes standard?
That's correct. I'm with you on that one.
So what happened is this. You get a bill for $300. You didn't like how they titled it.
No.
That was what she didn't like it because they titled it total assessment. What if it just said assessment?
She would probably feel a little bit better about it. Still be upset.
Yeah, you tried to send me somewhere else.
Yeah. Because full assessment sounds like you gave me tests.
Yes.
You checked everything about me to make sure that I was okay.
They didn't. Is $300 a ridiculous amount to meet with a doctor?
Yes.
Well, I'm not to meet with a doctor.
Just to meet him and say, hey,
the doctor listens to you. He goes this. He goes, listen, I think you need to go see a specialist.
That's a lot of money for $300 for you to tell me that.
Okay. How much does a doctor make a year?
It depends.
Okay, what do you think a doctor should make? $200,000?
No, about $300,000.
You think they should make $300,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, work this out with me real quick. How many days in the year are there?
365.
Okay. Divide that into 300,000. Comes out to about $900, $800, $900 a day.
Got it.
Okay, that's what it costs to pay that doctor. Okay, so let's say that doctor met with her for a half hour.
Yes.
Okay, so at a minimum, his fee alone should be around, what, $200? $100, $200? Then the facility, you have to pay rent. You got to pay nurses.
They have overhead.
You got all this. So now when we start talking about the money that goes into this,
got it.
You're going, oh, geez. And how many doctors are working at that time?
Probably just him.
Yeah, maybe.
Just him.
So, and then they got to pay medical malpractice insurance on
They
top
sure
of
do.
that.
Yes.
And medical malpractice insurance is a ridiculous amount of money.
Mhm.
And that hospital, that little place has their own. So they need a policy for him and the whole billing itself.
Yeah.
So when we start talking about that, they billed you $300, knowing the total cost to run one of these things.
Yeah.
Is it that ridiculous now?
No, not ridiculous, but my expectation as a consumer, because that's what I am when I
your
go as a patient.
expectation?
Yeah. Versus what I paid. I mean, if I go in there and you tell me, nah, I can't do anything for you, but all you did was just listen and I don't think it's 30 minutes. He spent 5 minutes with this lady.
How long?
probably.
She was probably in there an hour.
She
the person
waited
took
an
their
hour.
numbers. They ran the things. They brought her into a back room.
And
she took up a
waited.
spot.
Yeah.
All this other things. Now, how much does it take for a mechanic to just look at your car
Well, here's what normally,
without doing anything?
Well, here's what normally happens. What happens is I'll take my broken car to a mechanic. He'll assess it. He'll tell me what's wrong. Then he'll fix it. So
No, they don't fix it. They give you the amount and they say, hey,
That's what I mean,
will you
though.
pay for it? But they charge you an amount just to.
But you don't notice because it's absorbed into the actual
You
cost
got
of the
it.
whole thing. Yeah.
Now, how much should a mechanic make a year?
I'm not
300,000?
I'm not going to say 300,000. No.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that.
So we take things personally because it upset her feelings. And I'm there for you.
yeah.
Knowing what you know, common sense wise.
Yes.
Would you say anything different now? You go, listen, you need to go to your OBGYN.
Yeah.
If you have if you are pregnant and you have an issue, you call your OBGYN.
Absolutely.
Now I can make a promise to you right now.
Mhm.
What I think happened was this. I think she didn't have an OBGYN.
I actually think something different, but go ahead. I want to hear yours
Okay.
first.
The reason why is this is that the minute you start suffering, you think the baby's life is on the line.
Yeah.
You're calling your doctor. You're not going to go to a BS clinic.
And I agree with you 100%.
But how pregnant was she?
but 8 weeks.
Maybe she doesn't have one.
Here's what I think happened. I think she may have one, but every time I've ever gone to urgent care, you know when I go? When
Emergency.
my normal doctor's not open after business hours. So I'm thinking this happened maybe late at night or maybe after the doctor's office was closed and she had nowhere to go. So she went to urgent care thinking it's called urgent care. So they're going to take care of me there, and then learned otherwise and then got a bill. And that whole experience left her feeling a little bit, neglected and taken advantage of. But when you back into it the way you did about how doctors get this certain amount per year and
Right.
then the cost associated with being in the medical field,
Right.
it makes sense.
It's reasonable.
But then you think, wow,
You don't like it,
You
but
don't
it's
like
reasonable.
it. Yeah, it's reasonable.
As an attorney,
Mhm.
it's about 7 years.
To
And
become
then,
one,
and then you have to take the exams and everything else, add
Yeah.
another 6 months to that. It's about 7.5 years. By the time anybody ever allows you to do anything with a client, it'll probably be 8 or 9
that's a
before
lot.
you actually get to touch an actual client.
That's a lot of schooling.
Yeah, it's a lot of schooling. It's a lot of, you're working under an attorney for a little bit, unless you go work for the state attorney's office. Now, a doctor, how many years do you think it takes for a doctor?
It has to be about 10. It has to
Yeah,
be 10.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. 4 years, 4 years, 2 years in 3 years in residency.
And you accumulate a lot of
Yeah.
debt while you're in school.
Stupid money. So
Yeah.
11 years so I can practice. Now, is $300 a lot to see a doctor, even if that doctor couldn't do something for you? No. It's very reasonable.
Not when you break it down that way, honestly.
Now, most likely on these forms, they do tell you. But I've gone sick where I thought I had COVID.
Yeah.
And they gave me a COVID shot. They gave me COVID test where I showed negative. And then they gave me like a vitamin shot.
Gotcha.
$350.
Whew.
Now, the finger wrap at the emergency room,
Yeah.
$3,000.
For them to wrap your
Wrap my finger.
Bro, that's crazy.
Didn't figure it, didn't stitch it.
No.
They said they can't stitch it, just wrap it. $3,000.
Now, even though we know what we know about doctors and how long it takes to be one, that seems a little bit much, right?
Emergency room costs, everything else,
Yeah.
they start adding up. So I'm going to tell you didn't like it, and I'm sorry. Here's the reality. When you go into an urgent care, you don't know what they're going to charge you.
No.
There's no set figure amount, everything else.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, they give you a bill.
Yeah.
Now, you can try arguing the bill if you want to. Most of the time, your insurance company will not cover it because it's urgent care and
That's
it's
right.
outside of your insurance policy.
That's correct.
So I do support urgent cares, and I think they do fantastic work. But you are going in there without knowing what that final bill is going to be, and most likely it will not be covered by your health insurance.
So here's what I learned today. Pregnant women, don't get pregnant.
Is that what you learned?
Yeah.
Says the person with 3 kids.
4.
4? Oh, my God. See, so many I forgot. I mean, I got 2. Oh,
know you do.
That's a big check.
Yeah.
Big checks.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Jacob. You know that.
But my daughter's killing it. So I'm
She
happy
is.
about that.
Go Gators.
Yeah, stop it. James, that was fun.
Thank you.
We're going to start our next segment. Craig and I are going to argue the law. Craig Lynd, attorney licensed for over 25 years. And after that, my Dave Foley interview.
Come on.
God,
Dave Foley.
Dave Foley. I love it.
Gotcha.
Love him.
By the way, when are you going to get rid of Craig and hire me?
Well, it's 7 years practice law.